Taiho stood at the back of the council chamber, watching the most powerful beings in the galaxy argue like children. The room was beautiful. Crystal walls reached up toward a ceiling that showed the stars outside. Delegates from 100 worlds sat in curved rows, their voices rising and falling like waves. But all that beauty meant nothing when war was coming. He was just a translator. That was his job. He listened to the alien languages and turned them into words humans could understand. It was not an important job. Humans were new to galactic politics. They had only been part of the Interstellar Council for 30 years. To the major powers, humans were like children who had just learned to walk. They were tolerated, not respected. The Valorian ambassador rose from his seat. His skin was pale blue and his eyes burned with cold anger. "We have proof," he said. His voice filled the chamber. "Your ships destroyed our colony vessel. 3,000 Valorians are dead. 3,000 souls lost to your treachery." Across the room, the Tharn representative slammed his fist on the table. He was tall and broad, with dark scales covering his body. "Lies," he growled. "The Tharn Dominion had nothing to do with this attack. We will not accept blame for crimes we did not commit." "Then allow an investigation," the Valorian demanded. "We will not allow foreign ships in our space, not now. Not ever." Taiho watched the exchange carefully. He had seen arguments before. He had seen anger and pride and stubbornness. But this was different. This felt like the moment before a storm breaks. The Kasari delegate spoke next. She was smaller than the others, with silver skin and large dark eyes. Her voice was soft, but everyone listened. "The Kasari Federation is concerned," she said. "We have ordered our fleets to defensive positions. We must protect our borders in these uncertain times." This made the Valorians and Tharn even angrier. Moving fleets was not a defensive action, it was a threat. And everyone knew it. Taiho felt his stomach tighten. He looked at the evidence displayed on the chamber's screens. Sensor data, communication records. Images of the destroyed ship. The Valorians claimed it proved the Tharn were responsible. The Tharn claimed the evidence was fake. Both sides were certain they were right, but something was wrong. Taiho had spent years studying alien cultures and languages. He knew how they thought, how they communicated, how they made mistakes. And the evidence on the screen did not look like a Tharn mistake. It looked too perfect, too clean. When the Tharn made errors, they were messy. They were proud warriors who valued strength over subtlety. If they had destroyed a ship, they would not have left such careful traces. They would have been sloppy, arrogant. This evidence was the opposite. It was neat and organized. It felt arranged. He leaned toward Ambassador Yuna, who sat in the human delegation's small section. She was an older woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been a diplomat for 40 years, and she had seen many crises. "Ambassador," Taiho whispered. "Something is wrong with the evidence." Yuna did not look at him. "Be quiet," she said. "This is not our concern." "But the data patterns are inconsistent. The Tharn would not leave evidence like this. Someone else created it." Now Yuna turned her head. Her eyes were hard. "Taiho, listen to me carefully. We are humans. We have no standing here. If we interfere in a conflict between major powers, we will be crushed. Our species will lose everything we have built. But if there's a war, then we will survive it. But we will not survive making enemies of all three powers at once." She turned back to the chamber. "Stay silent, that is an order." Taiho closed his mouth, but his mind kept working. He looked at the evidence again. There, in the corner of the sensor data, he saw something strange. A small pattern hidden in the noise. It looked like a signal. The session continued for 3 more hours. The Valorians demanded punishment. The Tharn refused to negotiate. The Kasari spoke of peace while moving their ships closer to both borders. By the end, all 3 powers had issued ultimatums. The Valorian said, "Surrender the officers responsible or face war." The Tharn said, "Withdraw your accusations." "Or face war." The Kasari said, "If war begins, we will defend our interests with full force." 72 hours. That was how long the galaxy had left. In 3 days, the fleets would meet, and millions would die. Taiho returned to his quarters in the lower levels of Harmony Prime. Humans were not given rooms near the top where the important delegates stayed. They were placed below with the other minor species. The rooms were small and the lights were dim, but Taiho did not care about comfort. He cared about the signal he had seen. He connected to his computer and began to analyze the evidence files. It took him 2 hours to find it. Hidden in the sensor data was a transmission. It was encrypted, but the encryption was old, easy to break. When he decoded the message, he found coordinates. A location in the Void Territories, the lawless space between the major powers. No government controlled it. No laws protected it. Someone had sent this signal from the Void Territories and hidden it in the evidence. Why? What was there? Taiho sat back in his chair. His heart was beating fast. He had found something important. Something that could stop the war, but Yuna had told him to stay silent. She had said humans could not interfere. He thought about the 3,000 Valorians who had died on that colony ship. He thought about the millions who would die in the war. Tharn soldiers, Valorian citizens, Kasari families, humans on Earth and the colonies, all those lives balanced against his career. Against humanity standing in the galaxy. It was not a difficult choice. He stood and began to pack a bag. He would go to those coordinates. He would find out who was manipulating the major powers. And he would bring back proof. Ambassador Yuna would not help him. The major powers would not listen to him. He was just a translator. A human. A member of a species that did not matter, but sometimes the people who do not matter are the only ones who can see clearly. And sometimes the ones with nothing to lose are the only ones willing to risk everything. Taiho walked to the docking bay and requested a small courier ship. The officer on duty barely looked at him. Why would he? Taiho was nobody. That was fine. Nobody would notice when he left. And nobody would expect what he was about to do. As the ship lifted off from Harmony Prime, Taiho looked back at the station. Somewhere inside, diplomats were arguing about pride and power. Somewhere inside, generals were planning attacks and defenses. Somewhere inside, a war was being born. But out here, in the cold darkness of space, one human was flying toward the truth. He did not know if he would find it. He did not know if he would survive. But he knew one thing with perfect certainty. He could not do nothing. The stars stretched out before him, and he flew into the void. The Void Territories were not on any official map. They existed in the spaces between empires, in the darkness where laws meant nothing and survival was the only rule. Pirates lived there, smugglers, criminals, and now, apparently, someone who wanted to start a galactic war. Taiho's ship was small and fast, built for carrying messages between stations. It was not built for combat. It had no weapons, thin armor, and just enough fuel to reach his destination and return. If he met trouble, he would have to run or die. The journey took 6 hours. 6 hours of darkness and silence and doubt. Taiho spent most of it thinking about what he was doing. He had stolen a diplomatic ship. He had disobeyed a direct order. He had abandoned his post during the worst crisis in galactic history. If he was wrong about the signal, his career was over. Humanity's reputation would suffer. Ambassador Yuna might lose her position because of him, but if he was right, he might save billions of lives. The coordinates led him to an old mining station. It hung in space like a dead thing, dark and silent. The mining companies had abandoned it decades ago when the ore ran out. Now it was just another piece of junk floating in the void, but his sensors told a different story. There was power running through the station. There were life signs inside. Someone was using this place, and they did not want to be found. Taiho brought his ship around to the far side of the station, away from the main docking ports. He found a small maintenance airlock and connected his ship to it. The seal was not perfect, but it would hold. He put on his environment suit and checked his equipment. He had a datapad for recording evidence, a small light, a medical kit, no weapons. Humans were not allowed to carry weapons on Harmony Prime, and he had not thought to find one before leaving. He was walking into an enemy base with nothing but a flashlight and a computer. "This is stupid," he said to himself. Then he opened the airlock and went inside anyway. The station was dark and cold. Taiho moved through the corridor slowly, listening for any sound. The metal walls were covered in dust and rust. Old equipment lay scattered on the floor. It looked abandoned, but it was not. He found the first sign of activity in a large room near the center of the station. Computers lined the walls. Screens glowed with data. Communication equipment hummed with power. This was not a dead mining station. This was a command center. Taiho approached one of the computers and connected his datapad. He began downloading everything he could find. Files, messages, records, plans. He did not have time to read them now. He just needed to take them. The data told a story of careful manipulation. The organization called itself the Equilibrium. They believed that peace had made the galaxy weak. For 100 years, the major powers had avoided war, and in that time they had grown soft and lazy. They had stopped advancing, stopped evolving. The Equilibrium believed war was necessary, not to destroy the galaxy, but to strengthen it. They would start a conflict between the Valorians, Tharn, and Kasari. Millions would die, but the survivors would be harder. Better, the galaxy would be forced to grow. Taiho felt sick. These people had killed 3,000 Valorians just to start a war. They had framed the Tharn, they had manipulated the Kasari. They were playing with the lives of billions like pieces on a game board, and they had members everywhere. The files showed agents in all three governments: military officers, politicians, business leaders. The Equilibrium had been building this plan for decades. A voice came from behind him. "You should not be here, human." Taiho turned. A man stood in the doorway. He was Kasari with silver skin and dark eyes, but he wore no uniform. His clothes were simple and practical. "My name is Do-Yun," the man said. "I was a strategist for the Kasari military. Now I serve a higher purpose." Taiho kept his hand on the datapad. The download was almost complete. The purpose of killing innocent people? Do-Yun walked into the room slowly. He did not seem worried. The Valorians on that colony ship were not innocent. No one is innocent. We are all part of a system that has become sick. Peace has made us weak. Comfort has made us stupid. The major powers sit in their council chambers and talk about nothing while the galaxy rots from the inside. So your solution is war? War is nature's solution. It is how species become stronger. It is how civilizations are reborn. Do-Yun stopped a few meters away from Taiho. "You found our signal. You decoded our message. You came here alone, with no weapons and no backup. That tells me you are either very brave or very foolish. Maybe both." Do-Yun smiled. It was not a cruel smile. It was almost sad. "I respect that. Humans are interesting. You are so young as a species, and yet you keep surprising us. Perhaps that is why you can see what the old powers cannot." The download finished. Taiho disconnected the datapad and held it tight. "I'm taking this evidence to the council. They'll see what you've done. They'll stop the war." "No," Do-Yun said. "They will not believe you. You are a human. A translator. Why would the council listen to someone like you? Because the truth is the truth. It doesn't matter who speaks it. That is a very human thing to believe." Do-Yun sighed. "I will give you a choice. You can join us. Help us build a better galaxy from the ashes of the old one. You have shown courage and intelligence. We could use someone like you, and if I refuse, then you will die here. This station is set to destroy itself if it is compromised. I will activate the sequence and we will both be gone. The evidence will be gone. The war will happen as planned." Taiho looked at the man. He saw no anger in his eyes, no hatred. Do-Yun truly believed he was doing the right thing. He truly believed that burning the galaxy would make it grow, that made him more dangerous than any monster. "I won't join you," Taiho said. "And I won't let you destroy this evidence." He moved fast. He ran to the communication console and activated the emergency broadcast. His fingers flew across the controls, sending the data to every ship and station in range. The evidence would spread across space like light. Even if Do-yun killed him, the truth would survive. Do-yun reached him and grabbed his arm. They struggled. Tai-ho was not a fighter. He had never trained for combat. Do-yun was stronger and faster. He threw Tai-ho to the ground and pulled a knife from his belt. Tai-ho kicked at his legs and knocked him off balance. He got up and ran for the console again. He had to finish the transmission. He had to make sure it was sent. Do-yun caught him from behind. The knife cut into his side. Pain exploded through his body. He screamed but kept moving. His hands found the console. His fingers pressed the final command, transmission complete. The evidence was out there now. Flying through space at the speed of light. The fleets would receive it. The council would receive it. Everyone would know what the equilibrium had done. Do-yun dropped him to the floor. Tai-ho lay there, holding his wound, watching blood spread across the metal. Above him, alarms began to sound. Red lights flashed. "You fool," Do-yun said. His voice was tired. "You have changed nothing. They will not believe you. They will call it propaganda. Human lies. The war will still happen." "Maybe," Tai-ho whispered. "But at least they will have a chance to choose." Do-yun looked at him for a long moment. Then he walked to the wall and activated the self-destruct sequence. A countdown appeared on every screen. 10 minutes. "Then we will both die for nothing," Do-yun said. Tai-ho pulled himself up. His side was on fire, but he could still move. He had to move. He had to get back to his ship. He stumbled out of the room, leaving a trail of blood behind him. The station shook as systems began to fail. Explosions echoed in the distance. He had 10 minutes to reach the airlock. 10 minutes to escape. He ran through the dark corridors, one hand pressed against his wound. He could feel his strength leaving him with every step. The world was getting fuzzy. His legs were getting heavy, but he did not stop. He could not stop. He had come too far to die here. The airlock was ahead. His ship was waiting. He threw himself through the door and sealed it behind him. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely work the controls. The ship disconnected from the station and flew away. Behind him, the mining station exploded. A ball of fire and metal that disappeared into the darkness. Do-yun was gone. The equilibrium's base was gone, but the evidence was out there. The truth was flying across the galaxy. Tai-ho fell into the pilot's seat and tried to stop the bleeding. His vision was going dark. His thoughts were getting slow. He did not know if he would make it back to Harmony Prime, but he had done what he came to do. Now it was up to everyone else to listen. The galaxy received the transmission. Every ship, every station, every world with a receiver heard the message. Files poured across communication networks. Evidence of manipulation. Proof of conspiracy. The truth about who really destroyed the Valorian. Colony ship. But Do-yun had been right. No one believed it. On the Valorian flagship, Admiral Kisera read the files and threw them aside. "Human propaganda," she declared. "They are trying to protect their Tharn allies." "Ignore it." On the Tharn command vessel, General Doken watched the transmission with narrow eyes. "A trick," he said. "The humans are trying to confuse us. They want us to hesitate while the Valorians attack. We will not be fooled." On the Kasari battle station, Commander Senna studied the evidence carefully. She was smarter than the others, more patient. But in the end, she shook her head. "Even if this is real, it changes nothing. The Valorians and Tharn will not believe it. They will fight regardless. We must be ready." The fleets continued their approach. 3 great armadas moving through space like storms. Thousands of ships. Millions of soldiers. Enough firepower to burn worlds to ash. And in a small courier ship drifting in the void, Tai-ho was dying. He had stopped the bleeding, but the wound was deep. He had lost too much blood. His medical kit could only do so much. Without real help, he would be dead in hours. He lay in the pilot's seat, staring at the ceiling. The stars moved slowly past the windows. His transmission had gone out. The evidence was everywhere. And no one cared. Maybe Yuna had been right. Maybe humans did not matter. Maybe his voice was too small to be heard. His communicator beeped. An incoming message. He reached for it with a weak hand. The screen showed a face he knew. Jiwoo, the intelligence analyst from Harmony Prime. She had helped him trace the signal. She had warned him not to go. Tai-ho. Her voice was sharp with worry. Are you there? Answer me. I'm here, he whispered. Barely. I saw your transmission. I saw what you found. The equilibrium. The manipulation. It's all there. Nobody believes it. I know. The fleets are still moving. The council is still arguing. Everyone thinks it's a human trick. She paused. But I believe it. And I have an idea. Tai-ho tried to sit up. Pain shot through his body, but he pushed through it. What idea? The council is in session right now. They're making their final arguments before the ultimatums expire. If we can get your evidence in front of them directly, if they can hear it from you, maybe they'll listen. They won't listen to me. I'm nobody. You're the person who found the truth. You're the person who almost died to bring it back. That has to mean something. Tai-ho closed his eyes. He was so tired, so empty. Every part of him wanted to give up, to let the darkness take him, but then he thought about the people on those ships, the soldiers who would die following orders, the families who would lose fathers and mothers and children, the worlds that would burn because 3 governments were too proud to question their own beliefs. He could not save them all, but he could try to save some. How do we do it? He asked. Jiwoo's plan was simple and dangerous. She would hack into the council's communication system and patch Tai-ho's signal directly into the chamber. The delegates would see him on their screens. They would hear his voice. And then it would be up to him to convince them. You have to make them feel it, she said. Facts don't matter to people who have already made up their minds. You have to make them see the truth with their hearts, not their heads. I'm a translator, Jiwoo, not a speaker. Then translate. Translate the truth into something they can understand. The connection to the council chamber opened. Suddenly, Tai-ho was looking at the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Valorians in Tharn and Kesari. 100 different species from 100 different worlds. All of them staring at the screen where his face appeared. Ambassador Yuna was there, in the human section. Her eyes went wide when she saw him. She started to speak, to object, but something stopped her. Maybe it was the blood on his face. Maybe it was the pain in his eyes. She sat back and let him talk. My name is Tai-ho, he said. His voice was weak, but the chamber was silent, so everyone heard. I am a human. A translator. Nobody important. The Valorian admiral made a sound of disgust. Remove this human from our screens. We have no time for this. Please, Tai-ho said. Just listen. For 1 minute. Then you can go back to your war. The admiral hesitated. 1 minute. What was 1 minute against the pride of an empire? You all received my transmission, Tai-ho continued. You saw the evidence. I know you don't believe it. I know you think it's a trick. But I want you to ask yourself one question. Why would a human do this? He coughed. Blood came up. He wiped it away and kept talking. Humans have no stake in this war. If you fight, we will survive. We are too small to be a target. Too weak to be a threat. We have nothing to gain from stopping you and nothing to lose from letting you kill each other. The Tharn general leaned forward. He was listening now. I went to the Void Territories alone. I found the station where the conspiracy was planned. I downloaded the evidence and sent it to you. And then the man who ran the operation stabbed me and blew up the station. He died to keep the truth hidden. He died because he believed war was necessary. Tai-ho's vision was getting blurry. He blinked hard and forced himself to focus. His name was Do-yun? He was Kesari. But he wasn't working for the Kesari Federation. He was working for an idea. The idea that the galaxy has become weak. That peace has made us soft. That only through fire can we become strong again. The Kesari commander's face was hard. She did not like hearing that one of her people had been part of this. Maybe he was right, Taiho said. Maybe peace does make us soft. Maybe we do need struggle to grow. But there are other kinds of struggle. The struggle to understand each other. The struggle to forgive. The struggle to look at evidence that contradicts everything you believe and ask yourself, what if I'm wrong? He pointed at the screen, at all of them. That's the struggle in front of you right now. You can go to war. You can kill millions of people based on evidence that was created by an organization that wanted you to kill each other. Or you can stop. You can investigate. You can find out if I'm telling the truth. The Valorian admiral stood. And if you're lying, then you can have your war. You'll only lose a few hours. But if I'm telling the truth and you don't stop, you'll lose everything. You'll destroy yourselves because you were too proud to listen to a human. The chamber was silent. Taiho could see them thinking, weighing, doubting. The certainty they had felt before was cracking. Just a little. Just enough. Ambassador Yuna stood. Her voice was calm and strong. I stake humanity's seat on this council on his words. If he is lying, we will leave. We will give up everything we have built. But I believe him. And I ask you to give him a chance to prove it. The silence stretched. Then the Valorian admiral spoke. 24 hours. Bring us proof that cannot be denied. Physical evidence from the Equilibrium's network. If you can do that, we will stand down. The Tharn general nodded. 24 hours. The Kasari commander was last. She looked at Taiho for a long moment, her face unreadable. Then she said, 24 hours. But if you fail, human, your species will share the blame for this war. The screens went dark. The connection closed. Taiho fell back in his seat. He had done it. He had bought them time. 20-4 hours to save the galaxy. He just had to survive long enough to use them. Jiwoo broke 15 laws in 2 hours. She stole a medical frigate from Harmony Prime's emergency bay. She flew it into restricted space without authorization. She ignored every order to turn back. And she did not care about any of it. Taiho was dying. That was all that mattered. She found his ship drifting in the darkness between stars. It was barely moving, its engines cold, its lights dim. When she connected her frigate to his airlock and went inside, she found him unconscious in the pilot seat. His skin was pale. His breathing was shallow. Blood was everywhere. You idiot, she whispered. You absolute idiot. She carried him to the medical bay and put him on the table. The machines came alive, scanning his body, showing her how bad it was. The knife had cut deep. He had lost almost half his blood. His organs were starting to fail. She worked fast. Transfusions, surgery, drugs to keep his heart beating. She was not a doctor, but the frigate's medical system guided her hands. For an hour she fought to keep him alive, and for an hour his body fought to die, but humans were stubborn. Taiho was more stubborn than most. His eyes opened. He looked around the room, confused. Then he saw Jiwoo and tried to smile. You came. Of course I came. Someone has to keep you from killing yourself. He tried to sit up. She pushed him back down. Don't move. You almost died. You're still almost dying. The evidence, he said. The council gave us 24 hours. We need to get proof. You need to rest. There's no time. The station is destroyed, but there might be something left in the wreckage. Data cores, records, something that can prove the equilibrium was real. Jiwoo looked at him. He was pale and weak and barely conscious. Any reasonable person would stay in bed. Any reasonable person would let someone else handle it, but there was no one else. And Taiho was not reasonable. Fine, she said. But I'm flying. You're staying on that table. She set a course for the wreckage of the mining station. The journey took 3 hours. During that time, she watched over Taiho, checking his vital signs, making sure the machines were keeping him stable. He slept most of the way, his body using every bit of energy to heal when they arrived. The wreckage was spread across thousands of kilometers. Twisted metal and broken machines drifting in the void. The explosion had been powerful. Finding anything intact would be almost impossible. The main data center was in the middle of the station. Taiho said. He had woken up and was watching the screens from the medical table. The cores were shielded. They might have survived. Giwu nodded and started scanning the debris. It took an hour to find what they were looking for. A cluster of metal containers floating together, protected by heavy armor plating. The data cores, she maneuvered the frigate close and extended the salvage arm. Grabbing the cores was delicate work. One wrong move, and they could be knocked away into the void, lost forever. She worked carefully, patiently. While the clock counted down, 18 hours left, she brought the cores inside and connected them to the ship's computer. The data was encrypted, but Taiho knew the equilibrium systems now. He talked her through the decryption process, his voice weak but steady. The files opened. Everything was there. Plans for the attack on the Valorian ship. Communications between equilibrium agents in all three governments. Financial records showing how they had funded the operation. Names, dates, locations. Proof that could not be denied. We have it, Jiwoo said. We have everything. But Taiho was not celebrating. He was looking at one file in particular. A list of names. Equilibrium members who were still active, still hidden in positions of power. They're going to try to stop us, he said. These people have spent decades building this plan. They won't let us destroy it. As if in answer, the ship's alarms went off. Sensors showed 3 vessels approaching fast. Small and fast. Attack ships. Equilibrium loyalists, Jiwoo said. They must have been watching the wreckage in case anyone came back. She ran to the cockpit and took the controls. The frigate was not built for combat. It was slow and clumsy, designed to save lives, not fight battles. Against 3 attack ships, they had no chance, but they had to try. Hold on, she said. She pushed the engines to full power and dove into the debris field. The wreckage was dangerous, full of sharp edges and unstable pieces, but it was also cover. The attack ships would have trouble following them through it. The first shots came fast. Bright beams of energy that cut through space. Jiwoo threw the frigate into a roll, dodging between 2 pieces of hull plating. The beams missed by meters. They're faster than us, Taiho said. He had pulled himself off the medical table and was strapping into a seat. We can't outrun them, then we outthink them. She flew deeper into the debris, using every trick she knew. Sudden turns. Quick stops. Flying so close to the wreckage that the attack ships couldn't follow without crashing. It was dangerous and terrifying and absolutely necessary. One of the attack ships got too aggressive. It tried to follow her through a narrow gap between 2 pieces of machinery and misjudged the distance. The ship clipped the edge and spun out of control, crashing into a wall of metal. 2 left, but the frigate was taking damage. A shot grazed the engine. Another hit the hull and opened a small breach. Air was leaking out. Systems were failing. We're not going to make it, Jiwoo said. Taiho closed his eyes. He was thinking. She could see it in his face, the way he processed problems, looking for solutions that others couldn't see. The data cores, he said. How fast can we transmit the files? A few minutes. Maybe less. Why? Send them now. Send them to the council, to the fleets, to everyone. If we die here, the evidence still gets out? Jiwoo understood. If they couldn't survive, they could at least complete the mission. She started the transmission, pouring all their data into space at maximum power. The files flew out toward Harmony Prime, toward the fleets, toward every receiver in range. The attack ships saw what she was doing. They came in hard, firing everything they had. The frigate shook with impact after impact. Alarms screamed. The lights flickered and then suddenly the attack stopped. Jiwoo looked at the sensors and saw why. New ships were arriving. Big ships. A Valorian cruiser and a Tharn destroyer, along with a Kasari escort. They had come to investigate the transmission and found the battle in progress. The 2 remaining attack ships turned and ran. They were fast, but not fast enough. The Valorian cruiser fired once and 1 ship exploded. The Tharn destroyer caught the other and tore it apart. Silence. The battle was over. The Valorian cruiser opened a communication channel. Admiral Kisara's face appeared on the screen. She looked at Jiwoo and Taiho with eyes that were hard but not hostile. "We received your transmission," she said. "The data cores are authentic. We have confirmed the evidence." Taiho felt something break inside him, relief, hope, exhaustion, all of it at once. "Then the war is cancelled. The council is convening an emergency session. The equilibrium will be rooted out. Those responsible will face justice." She paused. Her face softened just a little. "You were right, human. We were being manipulated. If you had not come forward, we would have destroyed ourselves." She seemed to struggle with the next words. "The Valorian Collective is in your debt." The screen went dark. Jiwoo sat back in her seat and let out a long breath. They had done it. Against all odds, against all logic. They had done it. She looked at Taiho. He was slumped in his chair, barely conscious. But he was smiling. "We need to get you to a hospital," she said. "In a minute," he whispered. "Just let me enjoy this for a minute." Outside the windows, the stars were bright and cold and beautiful. The galaxy was still there. Billions of people on thousands of worlds, alive and safe because two humans had refused to give up. It was not a bad feeling, not bad at all. The council chamber was full. Every seat was taken. Delegates from all three major powers sat together, along with representatives from 100 minor species. The crystal walls glowed with soft light, and the stars outside seemed closer than ever. Taiho stood at the center of the room. He was still weak. The doctors had done their best, but his body needed time to recover. He walked with a slight limp and had to stop sometimes to catch his breath. But he was alive. That was more than he had expected. The Valorian ambassador spoke first. His voice was formal, but there was something new in it. Something like respect. "Taiho of Earth, you have performed a great service to the galaxy. Through your courage and determination, you exposed a conspiracy that would have destroyed us all." The Tharn representative stood. He was a massive figure, all scales and muscle, but his words were careful. "The Tharn Dominion acknowledges its error. We were deceived by the equilibrium, as were our rivals. We should have listened when you first brought your concerns forward. We did not. That was our mistake." The Kasari commander was last. She looked at Taiho with those dark, intelligent eyes. "The equilibrium had members in all our governments. We have arrested many, but some escaped. The damage they caused will take years to repair. The trust they broke will take even longer." Taiho nodded. He knew all this. He had lived it. "But you asked for nothing in return," the Kasari continued. "You did not seek glory or reward. You sought only to stop the war." She paused. "That is rare. In all my years I have not seen many like you." The chamber was silent. Every eye was on Taiho. He could feel the weight of their attention, the importance of this moment. Whatever he said now would be remembered for a long time. He thought about what to ask for. He could request power. A high position, wealth, influence, the major powers owed him their lives. They would give him almost anything, but that was not what he wanted. "I don't need a reward," he said. His voice was quiet, but the chamber carried it to every ear. "I'm a translator. That's all I ever wanted to be. I like learning languages. I like understanding how different people think." A few delegates smiled. Others looked confused. "But I would like to ask for something. Not for me, for humanity." The chamber grew still. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for. "We are a young species," Taiho said. "We have been part of this council for only 30 years. In that time, we have tried to learn and grow and contribute. But we are still treated as children. Our voices are ignored. Our concerns are dismissed. We are tolerated, but we are not heard." He looked around the room, meeting the eyes of delegates from species that had existed for thousands of years. Species that had built empires while humans were still living in caves. "I am not asking for us to be treated as equals. We have not earned that yet, but I am asking for a chance to earn it. A real chance. A seat on the Security Council with the right to vote and be heard." The Valorian ambassador frowned. The Security Council is reserved for the major powers. Humanity has not— I know what humanity has not done, Taiho interrupted. He was tired of being careful. We have not conquered worlds. We have not built great fleets. We have not ruled over other species. But we stopped your war. We saved your lives. And we did it not because we were strong, but because we saw something you couldn't see. He pointed at the empty space where the evidence had been displayed days before. You looked at that data for hours. Your experts analyzed it. Your military studied it. And none of you saw what I saw. None of you noticed that something was wrong. The chamber was absolutely silent. Maybe that's what humanity can offer. Not strength. Not power. A different perspective. A new way of seeing things. Because sometimes the biggest problems can only be solved by someone who doesn't know they're supposed to be impossible. He stopped. He had said everything he wanted to say. Now it was up to them. The delegates began to talk among themselves. Arguments broke out. Some supported humanity's request. Others opposed it. The debate went on for an hour, then 2. Taiho stood in the center of it all, waiting. Finally, the Valorian ambassador called for a vote. The result was not even close. By a margin of 3-1. The council voted to grant humanity a permanent seat on the Security Council. Full voting rights. Full participation. A voice that would be heard. Ambassador Yuna came to stand beside Taiho. Her eyes were bright with tears, but she was smiling. You did it, she said. You changed everything. We did it, he said. All of us. The session ended. The delegates filed out of the chamber. The crisis was over. The galaxy would live to see another day. Taiho walked slowly toward the exit. He wanted to go home. He wanted to sleep for about a week. He wanted to eat food that was not from a spaceship's emergency supplies. Ji Woo was waiting for him outside. She looked tired too, but she was smiling. So what happens now? Now we do the hard part. The hard part? Wasn't almost dying the hard part? Taiho shook his head. That was the easy part. That was just me against a few people. Now we have to build something. We have to prove that humanity deserves the chance we've been given. That's going to take years. Decades, maybe. Jiwoo thought about that. Sounds exhausting. Yeah, I'm in. They walked together through the corridors of Harmony Prime. Around them, the station was returning to normal. Ships came and went. People hurried to meetings and appointments. The business of the galaxy continued. A week later, Taiho received a message from the Valorian Collective. They were requesting a human ambassador. Someone who understood their culture and could help build better relations between their people and Earth. They wanted him. He thought about saying no. He was a translator, not a diplomat. He was not qualified for such an important position. But then he remembered what he had said in the council chamber. About earning things. About proving that humanity deserved its chance. Someone had to do the work. It might as well be him. He sent his acceptance and began to pack his things. A new assignment. A new challenge. A new opportunity to make a difference. Jiwoo helped him carry his bags to the ship. At the boarding ramp, she stopped and looked at him. You know, she said, when you left for the Void Territories, I thought you were going to die. I thought I would never see you again. But you came after me anyway. Yeah, stupid, right? Taiho smiled. The best kind of stupid. He walked up the ramp and into the ship. Through the window, he could see Jiwoo waving. He waved back. The ship lifted off from Harmony Prime and turned toward Valorian space. New stars. New worlds. New problems to solve. Taiho sat in his cabin and looked at the galaxy map on his screen. It was so big. So full of people and places and possibilities. And now, for the first time, humanity was truly part of it. He thought about all the things that could go wrong. The challenges ahead. The enemies they would make. The mistakes they would make, but he also thought about what could go right. The alliances they could build. The understanding they could create. The future they could shape. It would not be easy. It would take everything they had. But humans were stubborn. They did not give up. They kept trying even when everyone told them they would fail. That was what made them special. Not strength or technology or age. Just the simple refusal to accept that nothing could be done. Tejo closed the map and leaned back in his seat. Outside the window, the stars stretched on forever. He was ready. The galaxy was waiting, and one human was going to show them what his species could do.